Hey everyone, it's PK here. Hope you're doing really well. I just wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone who watches my content. I get many messages. I just got one this morning as well, from a person saying how grateful he is for for the content I produce. I hope it's making a difference. I hope it's really trying to bring some authenticity and genuineness in the property industry, and allowing you guys to really understand what's possible versus what's not possible and how to get there. Property investing is definitely not easy. I know it's not what I should be saying as someone in the business, but it's not easy, but it is possible. So thank you everyone for your support and your comments that you send me on my content, and that really inspires me to produce more of it. So what I want to talk today about is I actually had a conversation. I'll actually be really transparent and straight up. I had a client call with a potential client a few days ago. Really nice guy, and he was actually wanting to start accelerating his property portfolio. He already had one property in Brisbane, but he wanted to really get a six-figure passive income, and in his own words, a seven-figure net wealth position in 5 to 10 years time. Seven-figure means $1 million plus, and he wanted more than $5 million of net wealth in around 10 years time, with a six-figure income, passive income. So when I was hearing that, I was thinking, oh boy, this is a bit of a challenge, but I'm all one for taking a challenge. So we got through the call, and I was asking him a whole bunch of questions just to see if he was right, whether we would work together in a good way, whether we were a good fit, all the standard stuff that I do. And at the end, he decided not to go ahead, which is his prerogative, and I respect that. But the reason he decided not to go ahead, and look, with all due respect as well, it's a very personal decision. The reason he decided not to go ahead was because he already had one investment property, but it wasn't paid off. Okay, so he had only paid 20 or 30% of that investment property off, and his rationale for not wanting to buy the second or third or fourth property and really accelerate towards his goal of passive income and net wealth was that he hadn't paid his first property off. Now, I know from just that sample, you can judge the quality of the ocean by just one drop. So I know there must be many people out there that are thinking in a similar way, that are thinking that, I don't actually want to buy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 properties until I've started to pay my first one, my second one, my third one off. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit today, and actually why that's mathematically, simply from an arithmetic perspective, not the best idea. Okay, so look, I get it. You want to pay the first property off from a sleep at night factor perspective because you have debt, right? But the art and science of property investing means that the more properties you can hold, the more properties that you can control, the better off you will be in the short and long term. Okay, let me qualify that, let me explain that. Now, if we are able to control or hold one property, and that doubles in, let's say, 10 years time, which, by the way, almost never happens. You need to be very scientific about how you're buying property for it to actually double in 10 years time. Let's say, though, you are buying one property and it doubles in 10 years time, and then that's a good outcome. Would you rather one property have doubled in 10 years time, or would you have rather 5 properties in your control that have doubled in 10 years time, or let's say 13 years time, or even 15 years time? The simple mathematics is that the more properties you control, the more properties you hold, the more your net wealth is going to be in the future. And also, then in that future, you can use your property portfolio of, let's say, 6 properties or 8 properties. You can sell half of them and use the money from those half. That's actually doubled, remember, those half of your properties have doubled. use the money to pay off all the debt of the half, 3 or 4 properties that you didn't sell. And so therefore, in 10 or 15 years' time, you have 3 or 4 properties that have completely no debt on them, and that are worth millions of dollars from a net perspective, and are giving you a 6-figure passive income. Okay, that can't be achieved if you go down the route of only buying one property and using your own hard-earned money every single year to try pay it off. Okay, in that scenario, let's say you have a property worth $500,000, and let's say it does do really well, and it does increase at a fair clip every year. But if you're using your own money to pay it off, principal and interest, then you might get it paid off in 5 years, you might get it paid off in 10 years, or you may need to wait 15 years for it to get paid off. And so, great, in 15 years' time, the property's doubled, great story, you've paid it off, great outcome using your own hard-earned money. But now you only have one property that's unencumbered by debt, and you've had to use your own hard-earned savings to pay it off, right? So compare that, juxtapose that versus a scenario where you didn't pay it off, right? You only paid interest only, or very slight principal and interest, and instead you use your own hard-earned money to develop deposits for future properties, and also used previous properties to extract equity to buy more and more investment properties, and in 5 or 6 or 7 years' time, managed to accumulate 6 or 8 properties. And then you wait 10 or 15 years, and then at the end of the string there, you've sold half of them and used the proceeds to pay off the other half. And in that scenario, in 15 years' time or thereabouts, you have 3 or 4 properties completely unencumbered by debt, paying you a 6-figure passive income, and you have a multiple 7-figure net wealth. Now, of course, this is just very high-level arithmetic. It can't work for everyone. Everyone's an individual, so you can't take this as personal advice. But I'm just using it to illustrate the fact that paying down your first investment property, or in fact your own home, is not the best idea when it comes to accelerating a property portfolio and getting to your net wealth and net passive income figure sooner and closer. Okay? I know it seems counterintuitive. We've all been brought up, especially in some cultures, to say we should buy a property, pay it off, or at least pay half of it off, and then once we've done that, then we can think about the next risk and the next risk and the next risk, okay? But the correct mindset is, if you are educated, if you know what you're doing, if you have confidence in what you're doing, and confidence comes from education, right? If you're confident in what you're doing, then you should be buying properties one after another that are positive cash flow, right? That don't actually cost you anything to hold. Therefore, from a household budget perspective, you can actually buy more and more and more, and it's actually no risk. Okay, so there's nothing that's no risk in this world, but it's very minimal risk. Okay, so positive cash flow properties. And so what need is there to pay it off? If you have one investment property, what need is there to actually pay it off with your own hard-earned money if it's cash flow positive? And if it's also giving capital growth, then you can use that growth to buy another property, to buy another property, to buy another property. All of these properties, by the way, must be cash flow positive, right? The income, the rent must be more than all the expenses. And in that way, you can accumulate a portfolio. I hope that's making sense. I know I'm talking a lot of numbers and a lot of concepts, but this is just the fundamental basics and principles of property investing. I know many of you will already know this, but the example that I'm using is that client, or that potential client, who very selfishly, unfortunately, didn't end up signing up with me. The reason he didn't do that was that he didn't want to buy the second property until the first property was at least half paid off. But that's completely unnecessary, right? If it's a cash flow positive property, you don't need to pay that property off before you go to the second, third, fourth, and fifth, right? The more you protect your hard-earned money and not pay off your property, the more you can allocate it to future deposits, right? And the more you can allocate your hard-earned savings to future deposits, the more assets or the more properties you can control or hold. And remember, it's not affecting your lifestyle because they're all positive cash flow property. And so the more you can do that, the more capital growth you're exposing yourself to, right? 7% capital growth on one property is great, but 7% capital growth on 5 properties is even better. And remember, none of these are costing you anything to hold, right? This is not some marketing tactic or some marketing technique or salesmanship. This is arithmetic on how advanced property investment works. And so therefore, sorry about my son in the background, if you're able to hold 5, 6, 7 properties for the long term that give you short-term growth and long-term growth, then you can actually develop that portfolio and you can get very, very comfortably over time a 6-figure passive income. Now, not everyone can get that. Of course, you need the right income from your job or your business to be able to service properties. But I'm trying to demonstrate the principle here, so that hopefully, this is very cheeky of me, but hopefully when more people are thinking of signing up to my course, they don't say no because of this reason that I'm risk averse and I want to pay my investment property off before buying the second property, right? That's just not smart investing. Okay, if all you want is one property and you're happy with that and you're a sort of content sort of person, that's fine then. But if you really want a passive income for yourself and your family, then you really do need more than one property, right? And you need to accumulate a property portfolio as soon as possible. So hopefully that makes sense. If it does, and if it did give you value, like I said at the start, thank you for DMing me and giving your feedback. I'd appreciate it if you could also give the video a like or a love or an angry face if you didn't agree with it, or a comment just so I can see some reciprocation, just so I can also see that this is making a difference. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. I'm just about to have brunch back inside. You can see the blue sky and clouds behind me. Beautiful Brisbane day. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you another time. See you.